Welcome to the Clyde FC podcast brought to you by A State of Mind. I am Paul Shanks and I'm delighted to be back after a short and enforced week off last week to cover a couple of matches off. Not great results, however, plenty of talking points, plenty of goals, and plenty of, shall we say, controversial decisions in there. Joining me tonight, I have Graham Murray, hopefully not buffering at any point. Graham, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, Paul. How are you?
You're a badging. I'm doing good, Graham. It's good to see you. And making his long-awaited return after illness and various other things is Mr. Craig Black. Craig, how are you doing? It's good to see you back on.
Oh, it's great to be back on. I'm doing fine, thanks, Paul. Cheers.
Good stuff. We will be joined by Mr. Boyce. He's been caught up, I don't know, doing his hair or something, combing his goatee. He will be joining us hopefully in the next 15 or 20 minutes or so. So it's not just us. There will be plenty of opinions. As always, do get involved in the comments. We've got a lot to cover tonight. We've got two matches. We will be taking, I would say, a fair chunk of the show tonight to discuss the captain and talisman and his remarkable achievement, which he got over the line, no pun intended, at Peterhead, and also just in general terms, just how he stands now in the terms of all-time Clyde greats, because I think we now really need to have that conversation, because if there was any doubt as to just how pivotal that he is to us as a team and a football club as a whole, I have some quite remarkable stats that I've been pulling together when I should have been working today, so I hope my boss isn't watching. Right, so as I said, a lot to cover, so let's crack on. We'll go back 2 weeks to Balmoor, which was not as windy, but it was still wet and it was still cold as it always is. And unfortunately, another thing that didn't change was Clyde didn't turn up. It finished 3-2 to Peterhead. Graham, we stood side by side, and I think between us, we were tearing my hair out, shall we say, in the first 20 minutes.
That's harsh.
Sorry, Graham. Sorry.
Yeah. We were stood together down at the corner flag because that was deemed appropriate to put away fans in on a cold day in Peterhead when it was raining. But that's something else that we could possibly look at. It didn't affect the players on the pitch, but maybe it should have, because it just didn't start well at all. We set out with what I would consider to be quite a bizarre lineup in terms of the defence, obviously with Matty Elson being suspended, which was as a result of the previous refereeing decision, but he wasn't there. So we started Barry Cudahy at right centre half. Didn't seem to work. We seem to have Marky Monroe playing in front of him. We had Paul Kennedy playing in front of Adam Livingston. It just didn't work. We found ourselves a goal down after Neil Parry on his debut had made some fantastic saves, but we kept sleeping at it. He was the only one who seemed to be awake to the danger, and we found ourselves a goal down. Then we actually responded very well and got a very, very quick equaliser with a Goodwillie penalty, which to me from 100 miles away seemed to be a clear-cut penalty. Then we didn't do anything else. We invited pressure on. We lost 2 very quick goals after that, and then Danny changed things and maybe recognised that possibly he or the idea that he set out just wasn't working. So he made some quick changes, and as soon as Rob Jones came on, there seemed to be a better impetus about it. Ernst Blaine came on as well towards the end of the half, and we looked more likely. And we got obviously just before half time, we got a good equaliser, and Goody's 99/100th goal, depending on who you speak to in Pine Bovril. But it went over the line, and we were feeling optimistic at 3-2 at half time. And yet, we probably a combination of two things. Peterhead definitely sat back, being in the position that they were in. I can understand why, but to me, they were there for the taking. We had a couple of chances. Goody was through in goal, and the keeper made a good save, and then Ross Cunningham hit the bar from the follow-up. But other than that, did we threaten enough? probably not. A couple of half chances, but plenty of endeavour, plenty of grit, determination, but not really an awful lot to trouble Peterhead, and they could have scored a couple at the other end as well. So I think in reflection over the 90 minutes, barring a mad, 25 minutes, I think a draw was a fair result. However, we cannot give teams 3 goals or even 2 goals of a start, and we're scoring goals. We're scoring goals for fun, predominantly through Mr. Goodwillie, but we're still shipping some very, very poor goals.
Yeah, the first 19 minutes in particular, where, I mean, I think at times this season, Clyde have been hot and cold sometimes throughout the match. If this was a cold performance, the first 20 minutes, I know you were watching from afar, it was almost ice age levels of coldness. It was, I think Danny tried to kind of say after the game, it was almost like the deer caught in the headlights almost. We just did not get going at all. You must have been like ourselves at 19 minutes and it's 3-1. You're fearing the worst.
You do. You think you're on to the end of a real good hiding. I mean, I was watching the updates from you as well. I was working, but at 3-1, you just go, "Oh, that's us." That's us. We've done it again. We've let them in early. We're beat, and then all of a sudden it seemed to come back to 3-2 at half time. You think, right, okay, we've got a wee chance. And for what you guys were telling me as well, we created a good number of chances, and then Cunningham rattled the bar. And after Goodie being 1-1, you think, right, come on, last 5 minutes, let's push. But it just didn't happen. And as you guys have said, if we give teams 1, 2, 3 goals of a start, what are we doing? It's making life really, really hard up top when we're trying to get going and we're waiting till we're 2-0 down before we really push. Whereas we weren't doing that with Queen's Park last week. It was different.
Yeah, the biggest frustration for myself, and I'm not sure how you felt, but the victory against Cove the week prior was built off of an extremely sound defensive performance. Cove had a lot of possession. They huffed and they puffed. They were shooting from out wide. They weren't really forcing any kind of noteworthy saves, I would say, from myself. So from that perspective, that was the biggest frustration, was just how meekly we surrendered the 3 goals in such a quick time frame. Now, Graham and Craig, as you touched upon, we did create chances. I would maybe, what you said, Graham, that a draw was a fair result. I think given the chances that we missed, it was the least we should have got. I think Danny touched upon it after this weekend's latest Goodwillie brace, that Goodie should have had as 101st or 100th, depending on what record book you're looking at, when he was 1-on-1. If there's anyone that you want in that situation, Graham, it's David, and he was bitterly disappointed that he didn't go down the road with a match ball.
I think he apologised to the team as well for missing him, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
It just tells its own story.
He doesn't have anything to apologise for, does he?
But I think it felt as if they'd missed that big chance to get that point, though. But then he made up for it last week again.
Yeah, and not only obviously we hit the bar, but I think Ross Cunningham had a very good chance as well, Graham. Not 1-on-1 per se, but he kind of dribbled his way into the box, almost akin to their first goal, rather than squaring. He goes to the near post, and it forces a good save from Brett Long. Goodie had a shot narrowly wide as well. Peterhead only really had one chance, and again, if anyone wishes to correct me in the comments, I'm always open to be corrected. I do tend to talk a lot of guff on here. That I can only really think of one chance that Peterhead created, and I know you talked that they sat back a bit more. They did. I think, though, the changes we made gave us a wee bit more to our game, Graham. The impact, I thought, of Aaron's playing, whilst he maybe didn't do enough on the ball, he was a bit busier. He didn't allow Peterhead as much time on the ball as they were getting, certainly in the first half.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of waxed lyrical about Aaron's playing in various episodes of the podcast about what a talented football player he is. He didn't have, in my opinion, his best game up there, but that's you can criticise or you can actually comment on his performance because he is on the ball as much as he is, because he doesn't hide and he looks for the ball, and he is probably the first player we've had since Chris McStay that can actually build and get us yards by getting us up the park, driving with the ball. Now, his presence made a difference, and I think as well, when you look at, understands, whilst not agreeing with the selection of people in positions, but when you talk about how the Cove performance was built upon that 3-5-2, I can understand the continuity aspect of Danny wanting to keep that. I just don't think the personnel fitted within that. And as I said, in fairness to Danny, he did change it, and from that point onwards, we were marginally the better team, and without a doubt, we did deserve a draw. But I think, to me, the impact that Rob Jones made was probably more impactful. He hit the bar leading up to Goody's second goal. A lot of people, I mean, we can come on to the Queen's Park game and the wonderful commentary that John Boyce was doing, but you look at a lot of the times that the ball was kind of hit up to Rob Jones last week, seemed to be quite a lot of it just over his head. However, I actually see if the ball's played up to his feet, I think the link-up ability that he's got with somebody with the intelligence of Goody up front can really, really drive us forward. And there was much evidence of that up at Peterhead when the ball was played up to his feet. And he got Goody into good positions. And I think he could, count himself. I think his performance merited him starting the next game. But a draw was a fair result. But it's one of these things where, we've now played Montrose, we played Alloa, we played Cove, we played Queen's Park and Falkirk, and the only team that we've looked out of sorts against of the kind of top echelons of teams has been Falkirk. So there's possibly, we'll touch on it later on, okay? But I think we need to start starting games a lot better. I think that is a common problem that we've had, that we don't tend to start games that well. You look at the Cove game, the Queen's Park game, the Peterhead game. I think if we can get out of the blocks quicker, we can stop shooting ourselves in the foot. But yeah, Peterhead definitely, they scored 3 goals. So if they score 3 goals, in most cases, you deserve to win a game. But I think we're unlucky to be coming down the road, not talking about getting a point.
Do you think the other teams are aware of the fact that we've been vulnerable in the opening 5, 10, 15 minutes of games and are a bit quicker off the mark than we are? They're ready for that more than we are just now.
To be fair, Craig, I don't think there's, sorry, Paul, I don't think there's any excuses for any team not starting the game, starting well. But the way that the team should be set up, we should be on the front foot right from the start. And in my opinion, if we start a game slowly, the next game that should be rectified on the training pitch. So I would be surprised if a team's that's playing against us is looking at that. I think they're just putting their game plan on there. Says, look, we want to get onto the front foot as quickly as possible. So it maybe be a combination of them, their game plan counteracting ours and making us look maybe a bit slow off the blocks. But I do think it's something from tomorrow, especially tomorrow, that we really need to get and put a foot in the ball and get out the traps quickly and start imposing ourselves on the game quicker. Because other than the Falkirk game, I think we've been able to, and Dumbarton probably, but we've been able to do and impose ourselves on all of the games that we played this season.
Yeah, I can't agree more, Graham. I think a big thing for myself is when you look at the away form in particular, because that's where the real griping issue I think that we really have still at the moment. The away form, you take away the opening day performance and result, that was what it was. You try and draw a line in that, as we have done. As you say, Graham, only really Falkirk have taken us to 2-3-0 or 3-0, sorry, it was. Every other game we've been at very worst competitive. Even going away to Montrose, you go away to Montrose, you score twice, you get a point. That's a pretty decent result, all things considered. Going away to Peterhead, who were bottom of the league at the time, very, very fragile. On a pretty poor run, you score twice, but you can down the road with nothing. That will frustrate Danny and the boys just as much as it does us. But that is something we really, really, really need to get better at, is if we are scoring goals, let's just be a wee bit tighter, especially away from home. And we'll start finding ourselves much higher up the table, Craig.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you look at the way, as Boyce mentioned earlier on today, if results tomorrow go in the way we want, we could be 2 points off the top. You know, it's such a tight league that 2-3, if we can get 2 or 3 wins in a row, what a difference that makes to the whole look at that table for our point of view. You're rather than looking at the teams at the bottom, you're looking at the teams at the top again. It's such a tight league, and as I said, as we've all said, getting a good start tomorrow is going to be absolutely crucial, and I think there's no reason why we can't do it.
Yeah, Boise has done his usual dossier when he does join us on our opponents tomorrow, and we will come to cover that in great length. Now, ahead of the Queen's Park match, we did make a loan signing from Kilmarnock. Ewan, I'm going to butcher his surname here. Is it Devaney? We'll go with that.
We'll just call him Ewan.
Yeah, Ewan. We'll go with Ewan. As Martin Brown is saying, you talk guff? Never. I do, Martin. I know it's hard to talk, but I do. Yeah, I think Mr. Boyce is actually waiting in the wings, so we'll get him added.
Wonderful.
Just in time before we carry on. I don't want him to miss a trick. I hope.
Now, this has nothing to do with me.
We're getting a drum roll.
I know. There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Thanks for your enthusiasm, Graham.
Wonderful to see you, John.
No, I'm in from the wilderness and good to be back. Hope the show's been good without me so far.
No, it has been. We did let everyone know that you were just doing your combing your hair and your goatee ahead of coming on, so they were eagerly awaiting you joining us. Now you came at a good time because you didn't miss the Peterhead match, so we have dissected that, and we are just moving on to the Queen's Park match. Just mentioning the loan signing of Ewan Devaney. I think I'm getting corrected in the comments how we pronounce it already. I'm going to go with it. I'm doubling down. A young left back or I believe midfielder. We'll cover obviously other elements of the performance, boys. So we'll come to you yourself. You were up in the commentary gantry, shall we call it? What did you make of Ewan's debut for the Goodwillie?
Yeah, I thought Ewan definitely. That's how I'm double downing on it, Paul. I thought he was quite accomplished in his debut. You know, he comes from Kilmarnock, a high kind of pedigree. He's well thought of there, and I thought he slotted in really well. He showed energy, showed passion in the tackle, which I personally like to see, and thought he had an absolutely solid game and put a good ball in for the equaliser. So very pleased and looking forward to see what he can do in the red, white and black.
Yeah, Craig, what about yourself? Are you impressed with Ewan?
I was really impressed with him. He certainly defied his years, I think, because I believe he's only about 18 or 19, isn't he? But I thought he looked solid. Danny was giving him good instruction from the first half and the sidelines, which I like to see, and he seemed to be taking it on. But I think helping them alongside him was Ballatoni and Elsden really brought him through as well. But even when Livingston came on to go to left back and they moved him forward, it made a big impact. As you said, he put the cross ball in that led to the equaliser at the end, and he certainly seemed to enjoy it when the goal went in. So no, I was really pleased.
So, as far as performances go, we'll come back to yourself, boys. I'll give the gents a break because they've been talking non-stop for 20 minutes. The performance was night and day from the Peterhead away day that saw us ship 3 goals. What were the kind of key elements for yourself? We continued to think with the 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2, depending on how you look at it. What were the kind of key elements that you thought was, yeah, this is working for us. This is giving us a real foothold in this game against the then and still undefeated league leaders?
Yeah, so, and what is quite a rarity for me these days, I missed the Peterhead game, as you kind of commented on. I think those goals going down the M6 to Newcastle, it was a tense ride, shall we say, but no, obviously shipping those goals, I was looking for the boys to go forward and do what we've been doing well since, the Montrose kind of game where we drew 2 each. Be looking for them to start relatively solid and keep the score down as much as possible and give ourselves a chance, because I feel like if we lose a couple of early goals, we really struggle to get back into it, unless there's a wee bit of fortune or something. And I thought we got off to the perfect start with a few chances and David Goodwillie's fantastic goal, which left me speechless, which is a rarity, as you boys know. So yeah, I thought we set up really well. I'm a big fan of this 3 centre backs and 2 wide players. I think it really suits our game. I think we're a very good counter-attacking team. We have the personnel to do it. I've been comparing ourselves to like the Spurs team of like 5 or 6 years ago, obviously to a lesser extent, but we have the similar kind of personnel where they're fast on the wings, they're solid at the back, there's players in the midfield that recycle possession and can pass it forward quickly. So I'm a big fan of it, and I would really like to see us move forward with it throughout the season. I think it's our best option formation wise.
Yeah, and I think a large part of it has been the emergence, Graham, of Matty Elston and the improvement that he has made to the defence. I think probably, would I say it's his busiest and toughest opponent so far, and Simon Murray and McHugh up top as well. It's a pretty decent strike force they've got. Queen's Park have got big ambitions. They've got a big bank balance behind them now as well. It was going to be a tough afternoon. Now, other than hitting the bar
and the post.
I'm going in the first half, Craig. We'll come to them hitting the post. We'll come to that as well. But I do think that on the whole, Graham, we kept them at relative arm's length, considering the significant firepower at their disposal.
I think we scored against the run of play. I'm going to be quite honest about that. Okay, I thought Queen's Park, again, as we kind of talked about earlier on, they started the game much brighter than ourselves, but they've got good players on the pitch that can help them do that. I thought their number 10 is at Liam Brown. I thought he looked outstanding in the middle of the park for them, and a right good find for them wherever he came from. But we did score against the run of play. What we did after that, we'll come on to, okay, because that was the most pleasing aspect for me from last week. But when you've got a striker, not just a striker in good form, which obviously Goody is, but a forward with the capabilities and the ability that he's got, then you can score against the run of play with wonder goals or penalties or whatever it may be. I think, watching the highlights and listening to the wonderful commentary from Boise, they did cut us open on a couple of occasions, and were very unlucky not to take the leads with the McHugh effort that came off the bar. I think we were a little bit under the cosh up until we scored the goal. But they're a good team, so they've got good players. So that we're going to surrender some possession in areas. But what I felt, we benefited from last week was some mobility in the centre of the park, where you had Paul Kennedy and Barry Cudahy, with maybe more options in terms of legs, if you like, for lack of a better term. They were a little bit more mobile than what's been in there in prior games. And I just thought, especially after we went ahead, we were a lot more energetic as a team. And even I'll go against what Boyce was saying. I know the intention is to be counter-attacking, but I thought we were attacking after we scored the goal last week. And it's probably, in my opinion, the most attacking we've looked all season after we went ahead last week.
It's not a bad thing at all, Graham.
I'll come to you now, Paul.
All right, okay. I thought Boyce was going to run with it. No, he's having
just a comment.
Just on you go, Paul.
Going to say, is that scarf too tight? You need to loosen up a wee bit.
No, it's all good.
No, so yeah, we'll come to the opening goal, and yeah, I mean, what can you say, Craig? It's stunning. It's simply stunning.
That is.
If it's scored in the Champions League or any your top competitions, it's a cliche, but yeah, we love a cliche on the Clyde podcast here. That is getting repeated on Sky Sports News or whatever.
Definitely.
Endlessly. It is a wonder goal. An absolute wonder goal.
definitely. And I really enjoyed David Jameson's other angle as well from the far stand. That just made it look even better. He showed control, athleticism, vision, awareness of what was going on, and a sublime type, subtle quality finish that was fantastic. It makes your afternoon seeing things like that. It really does, you know. And even when he ran towards Danny as well was quality. It was as John said in the commentary, it was magic, absolute magic.
I know. I think I've got my own catchphrase now. The one thing about that goal that I forgot about until I watched it back was his wee flick just over the boy's head as well.
Yeah, aye.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
It's just stunning. I mean, I really hope he can get his bicycle kick now, because I don't know how we're going to react when that goes in. I mean, that's the only thing that's going to top that goal for me. But no, Willie Muir's a very competent keeper, and to lob him in his own box, it's magic.
Yep, especially at that height as well, because it was a elevated kind of bicycle scissor kick or whatever you call it. You know, it wasn't just a running in and lifting it over him. He was up in the air, as you said. He flicked over the boy. He was up in the air, and then what a finish!
A bicycle kick lob, no less. I think he's probably one of the only players in this league, if not the kind of bottom three leagues in Scotland, that would have the audacity to try it. I have probably put this as the best goal he's scored for Clyde. Now, I'll put it out there in the comments. Let us know what if he has scored better, and he scored that many for us now, 102 no less. It's easy to forget perhaps some other stunning finishes, and there's been plenty in his time. So please do let us know what's your favourite goal, and what do you think is the best goal he scored out of a fair list, as we say, 102. And yeah, we will come to wax lyrical once we've broke down the rest of the Queen's Park game. The second half, Graham, I think you touched upon it. We started very well, even in the second half, and maybe on the flip side, Queen's Park then got themselves back into the game with two quick-fire goals, slightly against the run of play, perhaps. The first goal, I don't know. I'll put it across to yourself, Graham, first, and then to the rest of the guys. But is it a deflection that throws Neil Parry, or is it just a simple goalkeeping error? He's misjudged it.
To me, it's he's not got his feet across quickly enough to get down to it, and I'm pretty sure that would be the first person to admit that would be Neil Parry. So it's, again, I'm not a goalkeeper. I'm not any kind of athlete. So I just looked from the highlights again from the far away stands that it seemed to be kind of shuffling his feet rather than moving them. And when he dived across, the ball was already beyond him. So it didn't look like the deflection hindered, where it was going, if ever so slightly into the corner, maybe possibly more so. But from that range, big guy, I think he would be disappointed with it. And I think just it just didn't seem to get his feet across to get down and dive to stop it. So I genuinely feel it was a goalkeeping error and completely against the run of play.
I think so as well. I think watching the highlights for David Jameson's angle, it looked as if his feet had slipped as he's trying to get that wee shuffle across, and that meant he couldn't get that extra 6, 7, 8 inches stretch to reach it. I mean, sitting for where we were at the far stand, it looked as if he was slow down to get a shot that didn't look a particularly powerful shot. But when you see it from the other angle, I think his footing gave way as he tried to shuffle across. But listen, I'm not going to complain, because we got a decent result at the end of it, and I think he's a cracking keeper. I think he's going to do really well for us. But we just need to take it in the chin.
Yeah, for me, I think he's first of all a fantastic keeper, and I'm very thankful that we've got him. He's proved that at a higher level than we are just now that he's one of the best. So I'm sure we've to see his best in a Clyde shot yet. Obviously, it did look as if it was a weird shot from long range. He definitely hit it well. It was on target, which is what you ask for your outfield players. And asked a question of Parry, and whether it took a deflection or just as a wee strange spin on it for me and it just sneaked in the post. He did look disappointed after it went in, but he'll take it in the chin, we'll move on, and he'll make a wonder save tomorrow to make up for it.
I'm
Hopefully
hoping
not.
a save to make, personally, but yeah, you never know. And given the way we unfortunately have shipped goals away from home, we may need him to maybe be called.
Well, with East Fife scoring 0.5 goals a game, they might just get a wee half chance. So
he's getting his Dossety out before he asked him. Look at this. So if the equaliser was disappointing and a bit of a sucker punch, to say the least, the 3 minutes later, it seems to be a recurrent discussion point at the moment, boys, saying, I'll come to you because it must break your heart. It's another penalty kick, and unfortunately it seems to be that I thought Boise was logging off there. Scott Rumsby is not going to be sending many Christmas cards to referees at this rate, is he?
Nah, he's not had a very lucky start to the season. Speaking with him a couple of weeks ago, he's obviously very disappointed and he can't believe that there's been this amount of penalties given against him. Again, it did look another soft one. I'm in that camp. I think that 9 times out of 10, the ref leaves it, which has been the scenario for, the last few that he's given away. But looking at it with all emotion out of it, it's 5 penalties given away in 7 games. He's getting into the positions to allow attackers to go down and give the referee a decision. I think maybe his positioning was off for this one. Maybe he gets in front of the boy instead of being behind him and climbing, then the ref doesn't have a decision to make. So I think it's just the smart choices when the ball's in there for Scott that he needs to maybe work on. But I'm not a football coach. That's just my opinion as someone watching it. And I'm sure he'll get better. One of the comments I saw, it might have been from John Anderson, had said that we're still not very good at the back. While I agree with that, I do think that having the back 3 is certainly an advantage to the 2 at the back. I don't feel that we're particularly blessed with pace at the moment, and that was kind of seen late on in the game where we just had 2 at the back and Ballatoni was one of them, and he was getting dragged out of position and the boy was just, for lack of a better phrase, mincing him. Which can be a danger late on in the game. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting Page back. Hopefully he won't be too long, and then we can have some backups for that centre half kind of trio if we're going to go with that. But that's the main reason why I think it is going to work, because if you have one in the middle directing the other 2, you don't need as many runs and you're conserving energy. And like with the Cove game, if you can keep 2 of the league's best strikers quiet, there's clearly something going right.
Yeah, too right. I agree.
Yeah, Graham, we discussed it during the week, and I think just even yesterday, the penalty decision. I'm on the soft variety. You erring more to he gave the referee a decision and possibly more likely a penalty kick.
I think both, to be fair. I think it's soft, but I think, again, the kind of away stand view shows that he had his hand in his face, and if you get an experienced striker like Simon Murray, he's going to go down and beat the turf as if he's just been punched. So that's what happens. You can't, at that level, and we talked about this the last time, when you've got experienced strikers with a bit of guile and a bit of, for lack of a better term, they moan. They're streetwise. So when you give the referee, or you give them an opportunity to try and influence the referee like that, I mean, there's absolutely no doubt from that view that Scott Rumsby's either his hand or his elbow is actually in the vicinity of Simon Murray's face. Contact, minimal if anything, okay, but it's there. And when that's there and the striker feels it, and let's be honest, if Goody's running through in goal and he feels a touch, you never know. But that's where an experienced forward will get decisions for him. And as much as I like Scott Rumsby as a player, he has had some soft penalties given against him, but there's been some stonewallers there as well. So yeah, he might not be sending Christmas cards to referees, but he might not be able to afford to because of all the fines he's having to pay for all the the penalties he's giving away. But so yeah, it was soft. Don't give. It's at East Fife. Last game, last season. Don't give the referees a decision to make. That was a soft, ridiculous penalty in my opinion. So was the Cove one. This maybe wasn't as soft, but the one up at Montrose to me was a stonewaller, and this one was soft, but I also think I could see why it was given, and I would be claiming for it myself.
At least you're consistent then. At least you are consistent.
So I'll ask for refs.
Yeah, and it's all we're asking for at the moment with Clyde as well. Is that wee bit of consistency? We're fairly consistent at home these days. It's the away form that's letting us down. Now, the penalty was duly kind of tucked away. We're 2-1 down to the league favourites, I've got to say. Undefeated. It would have been probably not forgivable, but I mean, heads could easily have went down. Very easily. But they didn't. And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways for me was that there was a return of a bit of the old Danny Lennon steel, Craig, to do with the kind of teams that we've put out under Danny in his time, that even if they are facing a deficit, an uphill task, they'll knuckle down and they'll do everything they can to try and get a point out of the game, or 3 if possible.
Totally. That's one of the things I took from last week, was the spirit that we showed again. It seemed to be back, and none more so. I know we might touch on the Goodwillie penalty in a minute or two, but even when that penalty was missed, they still went for it, and they still showed a lot of fire and a lot of passion and a lot of push to get that back. And I think that's something that perhaps hasn't been quite so evident throughout the season, but it seems to be. Hopefully, that's it back now. It's one of those ones I need to be careful when we're talking about the penalty, because I don't like talking about penalties. But
Craig, never.
Me, I know.
You love talking about penalties, especially on the sideline.
I know. But with the penalty that we got, I thought it was a stonewaller. But the reason I need to be careful with my financial advisor is one of the Queen's Park directors. So Jim, if you're watching, hello. But I would have probably stuck my pension money on Goodwillie scoring that, and I couldn't believe he put it over the bar. I think everybody in the stand was the same. We're all waiting on that net bulging a wee touch, and it just didn't happen. But no, I think getting back to the spirit in the team, I think you're right that they did show a bit of guts and a good bit of belief for each other, and almost a bit more trust in each other as well. Yeah,
and I think we got the very well deserved point out of not just hoping to get a goal. Danny put on Taddy, so at one point I think we had Taddy, Jones and Goodwillie all effectively up front as a 3 or a variation of a 3. You had Ross Cunningham playing very, very close to them. So it was almost a 4 at points. We really did go for it. Gregory won the penalty kick, which I don't think Willie Moore, Graham, I know we disagreed maybe slightly on this. I don't think Willie Moore can have any complaints. He's came rushing out his edge. His box doesn't need to be there. There's plenty of cover, and he's clattered Gregory. For me, it's a penalty kick. Craig, as you said, you would have stuck your mortgage on Goody tucking that away. Instead, Boyce, what do you think he was doing? Was he trying a Panenka? What was it? Was he crossing it?
Yeah, so was he crossing it? Before I talk about that, I think the introduction of Taddy is really important. I thought he was fantastic when he came on, and that leap for trying to win that ball was insane. I think the boy could clear the entire pitch with one jump from sideline to sideline. He's unreal, and when fully fit, I think he's going to be a massive asset for us. Like that compliment with him, Jones and Goodwillie up top. I'm excited for it, guys. But on the penalty, I do think that David has his own penalty style. We've seen it plenty throughout the years, and unfortunately, this one just didn't hit the mark. I think he's tried the Panenka instead of just burying it. But if there's a man that we can afford to try a little thing just now. It's David Goodwillie. You know, he's on fire. To be quite frank, he's unreal. Leading the goal scoring charts as always, and potentially getting a fourth double in a row tomorrow. So yeah, poor penalty, but he made up for it, didn't he, Paul?
He did, yes, and perfectly led in there, John, as always. Yeah, if the first goal was spectacular, the equaliser in the 90th minute, because Clyde only seem to do 90th minute goals these days, home or away, when we're winning or taking points from games. It was far from spectacular. I think there was decent elements to it, though, at the same time. I thought the cross from Devaney, I have been corrected, and it's a friend of the family who's corrected us in the comments, so it's correct pronunciation, guys. Putting a great cross, and I think it was Conrad Ballatoni.
Aye, twice.
Great header, and an equally impressive save from Willie Moore. Now, to me, the biggest praise for this goal I can give is the second movement by Conrad Ballatoni.
Definitely.
To put his head in the danger zone, because there was boots flying everywhere.
Really brave.
And I think when he makes contact, I think there's two Queen's Park players are trying to hook it away, but he gets enough, nods it across, and Goody scrapes it over the line. I think all the kind of plaudits to me go to Conrad for doing that. Without that, it's a 2-1 victory for Queen's Park, Graham.
Yeah, and I think just before I said, Goody did a Panenka against the world champions in Spain, so he can do that anytime he wants, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
and he scored. So, but yeah, I mean, the cross in from Ewan was very good, but something I feel we've been lacking. We look at one of the chances in the second half when Paul Kennedy's fired a corner in, and Goody's ran across his defender and just headed it narrowly past. I think for a fair bit of time, we've really struggled. We get plenty of corners in games, we get plenty of free kicks. I think we've really struggled with delivery. And again, that was impressive to see some deliveries starting to go into the danger areas. But in terms of the contribution, the ball in is great, but Conrad absolutely, it's a phenomenal save. He touched it onto the bar, but it's point blank, so you can't, blame the keeper for not touching over the bar. But he put his head where it hurts to get it back across, and Goody's there. So at least we deserved, would be a draw based on the performance that we had put in. But again, it's something where you look at the changes that Danny made up at Peterhead to try and arrest what was happening. I think, in fairness, absolute credit goes to Danny last week for not accepting that we were playing a good team and thinking, here's ones for the fans. I want to try and win this game. And I'm going to go 4 up front. It doesn't happen very often. And especially this season, you could argue that at times it's been slightly pragmatic or looking at, not, more from defending from the front
passive
side of things.
Yeah, a bit more passive.
So, but it wasn't gung ho. It was filled with, as I mentioned earlier on, the mobility in the middle of the park, but not least by some really good plays. So the penalty, listen, Taddy's done really well to win the penalty, and Goody's done what he's done, but we've got back into that position because we never gave up, and I think the credit goes to the management team for, because Taddy was on before he won the penalty, but it pushed Queen's Park back, and they didn't know what to do with Gregory all the time he was on the pitch. So the equaliser was just rewards for, as I kind of mentioned earlier on, after scoring that first goal, a bold yet attacking style of play that we put in last week with some more and added mobility in the middle of the park. But when you've got somebody, as Boyce said, on fire up top, I think the last time we were on the podcast, we were debating whether Conrad's pass for Goody against Cove was a punt up the park. We look at again the space he finds for the first goal, but there's Conrad Ballatoni again. He's set up both goals for Goody on Saturday. He's that's how many assists has he now got? You said you were over at least 3. That we're talking about, but that's good in that regard that we've got a centre half that's flying him with assists, because we know that 9 times out of 10 Goody's going to stick the ball away. But if we've got somebody in the middle of the box or somebody from the back who's got the intelligence to put it into an area Goody can run into and get get in behind defenders and score wonder goals like that, then that's an asset to have, because again, you look at the deliveries I was talking about, but also the assists that Conrad Balatoni's already contributing. And if we can get Aaron Splain shooting, then I think we are quite potent in an attacking force. And hopefully, what we learned from the last half hour from last week will be taken in right from the start of the game tomorrow.
Yeah, just looking at some of the comments coming in, and there's a lot of people comment on their best Goodie goals, and we will come to cover that very, very shortly, guys. So thanks for getting involved. Mark Stewart getting involved here, just saying that QP even were a good team, but every team can beat each other on their day in this league. I completely agree. Craig, I think you mentioned it earlier, it's such a tight league. We could easily have won the game even after equalising. Was Adam Livingston who was through?
It was
Owen
Andrew.
Out wide.
Yeah.
Owen Andrew was in. Goodie played him in the last minute. And again, the keeper made a cracking save against them. So that was.
Yeah,
I mean, we were 2 points off top at half time.
Yeah,
it's mad.
It's mad. It's like 3 points from first to seventh. So if Falkirk win tomorrow, they're in seventh. They could go top. What a league!
Yeah,
I know. If you had said to us at the start of the season we'd be sitting just one place behind Falkirk, you wouldn't be thinking we were sitting eighth in the league at the moment, would you? So it's
with the way Falkirk are, you never know.
Oh, we've lost Craig. I think someone was asking if someone was topping up his wine. Maybe he's way to do it himself. Right. So the last 3 games we've played Alloa, Cove, and now Queen's Park Rangers. From a possible 9 points of
have we? Have we been in Europe, Paul?
No, we've not played Queen's Park Rangers. It would just be Queen's Park.
Cove Rangers and Queen's Park. Just testing, you are still awake, guys. Well done. And it would be more impressive if they had taken points from them, to be fair. Now, from the possible 9 points, we've taken 7. Now, that is a very impressive record. I would dare say, though, that the next set of stats that I'm going to rhyme off are far more impressive, quite frankly, and they all relate to a certain Mr. David Goodwillie. You touched upon it, John. He is on fire just now. He has scored 10 goals in 10 games this season, plus 1 assist. Over his time now at Clyde, he's now played 161 games, 153 starts, 8 sub-appearances. In that time, he has scored 102 goals and 38 assists. That equates to a goal every 99 minutes that he has been on the park in a Clyde jersey. That is quite an incredible return for any player at any level. That is just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's done amazingly well. He's played for Scotland. He's been an outstanding talent for many years, and we can count ourselves very lucky to have him. Mark Stewart does have some stats of his own, though, which I was also going to touch upon. So without David, we're not very potent, and David Goodwillie has scored 67% of our goals this season. So as fantastic a talent as DG9 is, if we're without him, who do you think can step up and take on that mantle? It's great to have Gregory Taddy back. Fit, I think he can be probably the one that could do that, up with Rob Jones. But how do you feel that we would do if Goodwillie's not in the team? Do you think it's a different formation, or do you think it's a different style of play, or what would your thoughts be?
I didn't actually think about it, to be honest, John.
We've got to though. We've got to.
Well, yeah. I mean, in his time at Clyde, he has been injured. Obviously, he broke his arm. He was missing for a good few games. He's even been suspended once. I didn't actually account for the.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
70 minutes that he missed against Peterhead after scoring and getting sent off at Balmoor. So, yeah, it's hard to imagine because, we're reliant on him, but every team's relying on, dare I say, one particular striker. Could we do with more? Yeah, a lot might lie on kind of Taddy once he gets up to fitness. He's probably going to be a good few weeks away, I would think, from being at that stage. as far as a shape goes, I don't know if we would change too much. Graham, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I'm obviously Mark's a regular contributor, but if you don't have David Goodwillie, your entire team's different, your entire formation's different. You know, who you've got up front is different. Every other team, possibly out with maybe 4 teams in Scotland, would struggle without David Goodwillie. So I'm not sure that this is just a Clyde thing, but maybe it's just a Clyde thing to be on the negative side of things. But you know, if he's not playing, we're going to miss him. But that's the same right across the board. But if he's not at Clyde's, we maybe get 3 or 4 different strikers who still couldn't do what he does. You know, because it's just, of course, we would miss him. Of course, we are relying on him. But every single team that would have David Goodwillie would rely on somebody of that ability.
Yeah, I think maybe I take that point, Graham. Absolutely. I think Mark's point was maybe, you know, if we don't have a goal scorer, you know, like David Goodwillie, not particularly it is just David Goodwillie, but if you take any goal scorer out of that team, where are the goals coming from? You know, obviously, much like Paul said, I pray that we never have to be in that scenario. But I think it's important that we think about it, and obviously, you know, the club have to have backups as well.
I think you're right though, boys. But I mean, when you've got somebody up like that, he's your focal point. So it's kind of like, you know, it's hypothetical. How would, you know, why is nobody else chipping in with goals? It's because, you know, Goody is a man who's there to score the goals. Now, at the start of the season, a lot of people were criticising Rob Jones, but he was putting a couple of goals in there as well. But again, you know, when you've got a number 9 who scores all the time, it's going to be that you play to his strengths and you play up. So a lot of the goals that we score, sometimes it's just down to him and him alone, finding space, finding pockets and channels and stuff like that as well. So it seems like all the chances fall to Goody as well. Ross Cunningham, yeah, we've talked about it in the last podcast. He could probably pop in with a few more goals. Big Rob, if he's starting, probably could. Ali Love doesn't score unimportant goals. So, of course, there could be more contributions from other sides of the park, but when you've got somebody in a talisman, as much as David Goodwillie is, he's maybe not giving other people the opportunity to score because he's just the one that's doing it all the time on a regular basis. And he's a one man that's in the right place at the right time 99 times out of 100.
Yeah, so that probably leads me quite nicely on then to my next 2 kind of questions, and that they're based on a couple of stats here. So he is currently now 8th in the all-time goal scorers list at the club. He overtook Harry Hood towards the start of the season, the great Harry Hood, of course. He's only 8 behind Leslie Johnson in 5th place. Now, I'm going to put it out there. I'll come to yourself, Boycey. Where realistically does David sit in terms of all-time greats of Clyde Football Club?
I mean, I think on social media over the last couple of seasons, we've seen a lot of comments around, you know, the phrase, he is the best we will ever see in a Clyde shirt in our generation. And I think that is very true. I think, as Graham said, he's a fantastic talent and he just snaffles up everything, doesn't he? But yeah, I think he'll break top 5 by the end of this season in the all-time goal scoring charts. I think he'll get to number 5. I think he's only maybe 12 or 13 away from that. I could be wrong, but yeah, he's at 8. Well, I'm going to say he'll probably make that. But yeah, I think yeah, he's just a fantastic talent, and he's probably going to be the best Clyde player I'll see in a Clyde jersey. I say probably because I hope I can prove myself wrong in that, and somebody else comes along in a few years. But yeah, what a talent.
Craig, same question to yourself. Where would you put David in your time watching Clyde? Is he the best?
In my time watching him 30 years, without a doubt, he's head and shoulders above anything I've seen in a Clyde shirt. He's at a level, 2 levels above where we are. I don't think that's unfair to say that. No, I think what you said earlier on about possibly breaking in, or he will break into the top 5 of the all-time goal scorers. I think that's where he's sitting with the whole Clyde history of the top 5 players. I think you need to add in the guys that aren't the goal scorers, like Brian Ahern and what have you, that should be up there as well. But he's definitely in there, and I think it's only a matter of time whether it's still while he's playing or soon after he stops playing that he's a guarantee shoot in for the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
Yeah, Mark Stewart in the comment, he's talking about guys like Tommy Rang, Archie Robertson. These guys are folklore names that different generations will see. Like some ourselves, did I say we were not fortunate enough to see these guys?
Correct, yeah.
However, I think the fact that we are able to even mention his name without being shot down by people that have maybe seen these legends of the club as being up there with the very best to ever don the Clyde jersey, I think is testament to just how good and how important he has been. I am very, very, very wary of time, and we haven't covered East Fife. Everyone, I'd just like to thank you for the kind of goal memories and stuff. Everyone's talking about his first 3, where he get his hat trick against Montrose. Elgin.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think the hat trick against Montrose was mentioned. There's so many. There really is. He's 5 against Stranraer. You can go on and on and on. Very quickly, Boise, how quickly can you cram your East Fife dossier in?
Give me a minute. Give me a minute and a half.
Go. East Fife, what can we expect?
Right, so East Fife, they sit bottom with 1 win and 7, 4 points behind us in 8th. If you're looking at that end of the table, it's probably an early 6-pointer for us. If we win, we get a good gap between us. They have conceded 2.7 goals a game, which, quite frankly, is stunning. And with David Goodwillie in the team for us, it looks like he'll probably get another double, 4 games in a row. As I mentioned earlier, they are scoring 0.6 goals a game. So if our defence is going to get a little confidence boost, this is probably the game they're going to do it. However, their home form does look, well, I say good, but they've won 1 and 2. They lost to Montrose 2-0, but beat Peterhead 3-0. Their away form recently in the last 2 games, which have been the last 2 games, they've conceded 8 and scored none, with a 5-0 loss to Dumbarton. I say loss, a drubbing to Dumbarton, and a 3-0 loss to Airdrie. So, as I said, with Goody in form in our back 3, is that a recipe for a Clyde win? I hope so. Key danger men for them, Danny Denham. We saw last season that he's scored goals and assists against us, and I'm sure he'll be another real threat for us, especially in the air. So we've really got to defend properly from crosses. On their personnel, Chris Higgins may return tomorrow. They have 6 injured players who have probably contributed to their poor form. Their manager, Darren Young, admitted during the week. And Daniel Higgins is suspended from last week in their loss to Airdrie. So for Clyde, if we win, we'll probably be in the top half and could potentially be 2 points off top. If we lose, we could be a point off bottom. So
it's going to be a mad league, gents. It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, consistency is going to be key. But if my prediction was there, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Clyde win with David Goodwillie getting the 2. And maybe there will be a bicycle kick in there somewhere. Who knows?
Right, okay, we're going predictions then. Right, let's do it. Graham, what are you saying? You gloriously and horrendously got it wrong in the opening day of the season, so I'm really at pains at asking you, so go for it.
So nothing personal then, Paul? Okay. No, actually, speaking of personal, I hope the Clyde players and the management team remember East Fife from the tail end of last season. I know we beat them in the last game, but we're going to their patch. Okay, so I hope that there's still some motivation there in regards to some of the things that were said after that game. So, yep, I'm going for East Fife 1, Clyde 2.
I'll take that. Craig, over to yourself quickly, just before I do my
I hate this bit. I hate being confident. I think 3-1. I think Goody with 2 and Cunningham with 1.
Right, and I'm not going to give one. I'm just going to go into the shout-outs that I need to do the end before we quickly wrap up. I'm not getting held accountable for anything.
15 seconds, go.
I'm going to sit in the fence and get some scalps on my backside. Okay, so just a couple of quick things to mention. On the back of David Goodwillie reaching 100 goals, we may have mentioned it once or 5 times today. The club have released a new batch of merchandise, which you can get through the online club shop, including a limited edition signed print. It's great, so get in before me and Boise buy them all. I think they're priced at £30, £29.99. So please do check them out because there's some great stuff in there. If you are going up to the Kingdom tomorrow, you can purchase tickets in advance from the East Fife website, or alternatively, there is a pay window where you can purchase a ticket at the ground. However, they are kind of pushing fans to purchase tickets in advance to avoid any queuing at the ground. Right, we've wrapped up just about on time. We've ran slightly over, but hey, we always do. It's been great, guys. Thanks for your opinions. Thanks everyone for getting involved in the comments. As I say, it's been great looking at some of the memories of David's many goals for the clubs. A bit of positivity, dare I say it, after last week. Hopefully we can really kick our away form into gear starting tomorrow and come back down the road with 3 points. We will be back next week, just ahead of the international break. We'll cover off what happens tomorrow and look ahead to Airdrie, I believe. So yeah, until then, come on the Bully Wee.
On a Clyde.
On a Clyde.
Clyde. All the best.